Welcome or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are just seeing me for the first time, this is a place of evolution, growth, and learning. And today we'll be talking about modern day feminism and the feminism that happened in the olden times. So, what I noticed about the agenda of both feminism, they are both fighting for the right cause, but they are doing different things now. Modern day feminism is trying to change the system, that means the patriarchal system, but the holding this feminism, they were fighting mainly for equality, because back in those days women could not speak without authority, women were not allowed to go to schools, women could not exercise political vote, women could not walk around freely. So it all sense of humanity, all sense of human rights was stripped out from a woman. So what the feminism back in those days were trying to do, they were mainly trying to fight for equality. But now time has evolved. We have our rights. We have some of our rights, because some women are not still able to exercise their rights. Even in Afghanistan, they're not able to exercise their full rights of humanity. But now women are evolving to a point of self-realization from the patriarchal system, because typically in the olden days it was mainly about you being a child, it was mainly about a child being owned by her father, a girl child being owned by her father. Then when she gets married, she is being owned by her husband. So a girl child did not have any sense of ownership. There was no any sense of ownership for the girl child. She was she her sense of ownership were in her father and were in her husband. So typical childhood, a girl's typical life journey was for her to be born, do house chores, exist in the home. Then she's married off at a very young age. Then she continues that journey without actually doing any fulfilling thing for herself. But at a point when feminism started, it became fantasized that, oh, you have to get married. Marriage became fantasized. Having a child became fantasized, because it shifted from a point of obligation to a compulsory state. So for them to still lead women into that circle of them still being owned by a father and being owned by a husband, they had to fantasize marriage and giving birth to children. But now women have come to a realization that they are not above the system, that even when they participate in the system by being married, by giving birth, by doing things that the patriarchal system has designed them to do, it doesn't somehow benefit them. It is always detrimental to them. So they have come to a realization that even though we have some of our rights as a woman, even though we are allowed to go to school, we are allowed to speak up for ourselves, we are allowed to exercise political rights, that the main thing that they're still using to entrench us is the fantasization of some of these patriarchal tools used to sustain the patriarchal system. But modern day feminism are now leading the agenda that these things were fantasized. You getting married was fantasized, so that you can still participate, you can still sustain the patriarchal system. And it is now giving a shift of identity in a woman's mind, that getting married at a young age is not something that they should fantasize, that they are going to have economic liberation, that they are going to read books, they are going to have their degrees, they are going to own businesses, instead of them getting married at a really young age. Having a child is not something that should be fantasized, because there's a lot of financial responsibility, a lot of emotional responsibility that come with these factors. But if it's not taken to place, if all these things are not taken to place, it is only sustaining the patriarchal system. But modern day feminism, even Nigerian feminism, are part of modern day feminism. They are mainly They are merely pushing the agenda of shifting the patriarchal system. Now you can see the two difference. The olden times feminism was about equality, fighting for our rights, because at that time women did not have any form of liberation or did not have any form of access to exercise she our right. But modern day feminism are evolving to a point that even though we have our rights, even though they have given us our rights, the patriarchal system is the system that is actually the foundation of every single thing. They understand the system and they are trying to shift the system from a patriarchal system to a matriarchal system. That is what modern day feminism is all about. There is a shift. There is a shift. And how is this liberating to women? Because things that were used as tool to weaponize women, things like economic access. A woman had to get married to a man for economic access, for for safety, and for protection. But now, in the evolution of the women's rights, in the evolution of feminism, a woman could get access to these things by her own rights. So there is no more fantasy. There is no more there is there's no more obligation to fantasization of these patriarchal tools used to sustain the patriarchal system. It is now an option because women are really opening up their mind that these things were fantasized, because before it was a form of obligation that you had to get married, that you had to have an husband, that you could not go to school, that you could not pursue your dreams. So from it being a form of obligation, it was now fantasized. The reason why it was fantasized, the reason why marriage was fantasized, you getting married was fantasized, was just mainly to sustain this patriarchal system. But since the modern day feminism are liberating women, that getting married is not a form of fantasization. There is no fantasization in getting married. That marriage is a tool created by the patriarchal system, only used to benefit the men because they are the one that created the patriarchal system. So women are opening up their minds to the fact that these things are not actually liberating them. So they are pursuing their dreams, they are pursuing their goals, they are they are they are enjoying their life, and child childbirth rates and people that are getting married are declining. And the fact that this is declining, women are coming out of the shackles of patriarchal system, and this is actually liberating for women. And modern day feminism is one of their agenda to shift the system or to evolve the system from a patriarchal system to a matriarchal system is one of the liberating things that they can ever do for humanity and for women, because the world is originally designed to be a matriarchal world. The world is designed for women to be natural leaders and men to be natural protectors, natural guardian of that leadership that women hold. But because of men have to change the system, men had to disrupt natural law of order. That is why there is war. That is why there are so many things that are happening now. Is mainly because of the patriarchal system. So modern day feminism is actually liberating humanity by going after the agenda of shifting the system, and it's actually liberating towards women and towards men, because it's one of the liberating things that they can ever do towards humanity. And the patriarchal system is actually losing its shackles onto women. It's actually losing its hold on the tools of society, because those tools that were used to sustain the system, which were marriage and childbirth, those two main tools that were used to keep a woman down, to um to limit women, are now seen as a form of option. Women don't want to give birth, they don't want to get married, and it's really declining. So that is the difference between modern day feminism and the olden days feminism. The olden days feminism were simply fighting for a sense of equality, a sense of right being bestowed upon women. But modern day feminism are shifting the system from being a patriarchal system to a matriarchal system.